So I always wish I can take views home from a holiday. Like this picture window has a very nice view out of it, but unfortunately I can't. So what I can do, however, is make something for myself at home that reminds me of this, that gives me the same feeling as this. So what I'm gonna do is make a picture frame that reminds me of this, that reminds me of this feeling, that has the image, but it's floating. Let's go. This is going to be a simple one. The materials used here will be one piece of wood about 1.8 meters long and plexiglass or perspex, depending on where you're from. And essentially the size varies on how big of a frame you want. I went for specific dimensions, which was this here. So sort of like a rectangle, which is about these measurements. And the reason I chose this size is because it allows me to use all of the wood with very minimal waste. So the first thing I did, because the perspex came in a square, I'm essentially just cutting it in half. And then what I need to do is measure out how large, what size it is on the outside, because that essentially becomes the inside of the wood. So I cut that out and then I set that aside, got the measurements for that, then I transferred those over to the piece of wood. Now, one of the main things with this that was very important was that the frame was a large frame that could stand on its own or be hung on a wall, because that allows me to have a very chunky frame, a very pronounced, if I can call it that, frame. Now with that taken into account, I then cut the wood at 45-degree angles, or rather just to make mitered edges, so that they line up perfectly and create a nice square frame with very little visual interference. Then the next thing that I did was, after transferring the measurements from the plexiglass onto the frame, so I then started writing out the channels for the wood, which is essentially where the plexiglass would sit. I measured how thick two pieces of plexiglass put together would be, because that's exactly the thickness I would need for the channel. And once I got that, I took my palm router and went to town on that piece of wood. Now, now on 3 of the 4 sides of the wood, it's just routing, but on the 4th side, it actually needs to have a slit in there so the plexiglass can slide in and out of that, and that is how you put the pictures in the frame. And that taking into account, I picked the shorter side, because what that allows is that it uses the least bit of material and allows for a lot more margin for error than the longer side, as well as just the process of putting it in is going to be much smoother and tighter. Once that was done, I was able to then put everything together with dowels and glue and, you know, just make it come together, clamp it, leave it overnight to dry, and then come back the next day to finish off everything. I sanded it, and I didn't apply finish onto this, because the whole idea with this is that just to give me a natural, clean looking wood finish, to see how it looks. If I don't like it in the clean look, I'll give it an oil-based finish, maybe a clear coat, see how that looks. But the non-oil look, I think, is something that I'm gonna go with. And yeah, I think once I was done with that, I had a look at where in the house I thought I was maybe gonna hang it or put it on a shelf, but eventually I found a very beautiful place for it, that every morning or every day actually, when I sit right here, I have a view of it, and it just reminds me, like, time for holiday, you know, holiday, you know, every day can be a holiday. And I enjoyed making it, and it looks absolutely wonderful. It's easy, you can try it too. Yeah, so now that the project is done, poured myself a glass of dash and let's have a look at how it turned out. And obviously, if you like the video, like and or subscribe, maybe even comment, if you'd like to see something very similar. If you want to see some of my other DIY projects, try one of these links. And yeah, see you on the next one. Tastes like a holiday.